Good morning and welcome to the Next Gen Planners Morning Commute with Adam and Rohan. Hi, Ro.
Morning, Ad. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. How you feeling? You had a good week?
All right, yeah. Just a bit more development on last week, really. For quite a few new inquiries are sort of up to normalish levels now. And yeah, it's been a good week. How about you?
Yeah, good. I logged into some pretty boring Aviva webinar yesterday, which wasn't great.
Cheers for that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's been the highlight of my week. No, honestly, you were really good. Yeah, we're good. Business is good. I think the team are getting a bit stir crazy, so that's quite difficult managing people at the moment. But yeah, all good. So what have we got on today? I think we've obviously got the phone-in style Q&A, and we've got Russell Facer from 360, and we've got Matt Aitchinson on the beautiful topic of PI. But this is a real issue now for a lot of firms getting PI and getting cover. What are your thoughts on it today? What are you looking to see?
Massively so. Experience that we went through at the end of last year as well. So everybody who's coming up for PI renewals, get your questions in. Perhaps people who've come through it, share your experiences. I can see Karen's on the call as well, so I'm sure she'll give a nice compliancy angle, and she's seen plenty of firms going through this route. So do get those questions in. Really, really good opportunity to ask to people who are very, very closely linked to this.
Cool. Who's not doing the news?
Who's going to be doing the news this morning? Well, this morning we have Laura joining us for the news. Good morning, Laura. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good. The house is still intact in the background, I see.
It is.
Wonderful. Very good. So what's been going on in the world then, Laura?
So in the news this morning, we actually have a story from myself, which I'm going to talk a bit about. So I've got a story coming out this morning about an advice firm that has been kind of presenting itself online like an advisor directory, and operating like a lead generator. So asking customers to input their sort of details in a box to be connected with a local advisor, not really disclosing that it's their own advisors, but all inquiries are passed to their own advisors. The firm has been paying to be the top search result for unbiased on Google. So it appears among a host of other sort of directories and lead generation sites. And the advert looks pretty much the same. There is a photo of that in the story. Since we got in touch, the firm has changed its site now to make it clear that you will only be passed to its own advisors. But the managing director of the firm said they've never pretended to be a directory and haven't intended to mislead consumers. So I guess if you have a look, you can decide. I've done a couple of other investigations into these sort of lead generators, and we've got a couple more coming up. So I hope everyone finds that interesting.
This is proper journalism, isn't it? Proper investigative stuff. Good stuff, Laura. What else is going on?
Thank you very much. Worth reading if you haven't already, I should mention it, is a story from James Fitzgerald from yesterday afternoon about the FCA, which revealed that last year about 150 advice firms had to wait for more than 6 months to obtain their approval as a result of additional scrutiny to ensure those firms were not phoenixing. And that compared to 55 firms having to wait more than 6 months in 2018. So give that a read. Markets-wise, not my forte, but it looks like the US was down yesterday, and the S&P 500 Information Technology Index fell 4.1% after Wall Street analysts cut their price targets for Alphabet and Facebook. So they actually fell by about 4%, Facebook and Google. I think the FTSE 100 has risen this morning, but I will leave that there before I say something wrong. I'm afraid, I think in terms of big stories, that's it for this morning. Later today, we may have a story coming out about nutmeg, but I can't really disclose more than that yet.
Well,
I've just bashed through that nice and quickly, but yeah.
So that's a nice little teaser to what's happening the rest of the day. Excellent.
Yeah.
And Laura, so what else are you looking out for today? What sort of hot on the radar at the moment?
Hot on the radar at the moment. Well, I personally might have another story coming out about these lead generators. So that's my beat for today. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll just have to wait and see. I don't think there's anything else I can actually disclose at the moment.
Super.
Nice and mysterious.
Brilliant. No, really good. Thank you very much. I'm sure with that quality of journalism, you won't be getting any letters from Harry and Meghan's PR team anytime soon, Laura. So thank you very, very much indeed.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Right, great. Thanks for Laurie. I think we need to give Laura, a bit of a virtual clap for all the investigating she's doing. She's doing an awesome job. Right, straight over to you, Chris. You can confirm or deny that's a real bookcase.
That is a real bookcase. Yes.
Okay.
Boom, boom. Yep. Morning all. I said yesterday I was going to try in this week's 3 2-minute financial wellbeing tips that I was going to try and give a little kind of summary of what it's all about. Yesterday I told you about spot theory of happiness, which is that we reach adulthood with a level of well-being which doesn't really change. It's set by genetics and by our childhood. So there's another theory I want to tell you about called the hedonic treadmill. The hedonic treadmill is a psychological theory which says that when events happen to us and give us either positive or negative stimulation, they don't actually change our set level of well-being. So what happens is something happens to us and then we adjust, we get used to whatever's happened to us in order that we can get back to our set level of well-being. So that's happening right at the moment. This phrase that everybody's using, the new normal, that is the hedonic treadmill in practice. So what this means is that we can't change our fixed level of well-being because we keep adjusting so that we won't. So that leads to the obvious question, which is, well, how can we change our long-term level of well-being? How can we, and more importantly, perhaps, what can advisors do to help their clients to increase their set level of well-being? So I would ask you to have a look at your financial plans with your clients and ask yourselves, is our cash flow, for example, helping our clients to achieve bucket list type stuff? Or is it helping them to achieve genuine change in their lives, which might shift that set point of level of well-being upwards? There are some things that we can do to increase our well-being, and I will tell you more about that on Friday.
Very good, Chris. Very good. And what's on your agenda today?
Today's my writing day, Rose. So I've finished my 4th draft of my 3rd novel, and I'm now going to go back in and polish it before sending it off to some literary agents, and hope I have better luck with the first 2.
Very good. Very good. Wow. What a learned man you are, Chris. Thank you very, very much, sir. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Fantastic. Right. So now is time for our Q&A. And joining us today on the Q&A for our chat about navigating the PI market is Russell Facer from 360. Good morning, Russell.
Morning, everyone.
And we have Matt Aitchison from Clear Vision Financial Planning. And it is also, by the way, right, if you ever meet Matt in the flesh, he's way better looking in real life than he is on video or photos. Absolute best looking man in next gen. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Rohan. I am, as ever, grateful for the big ups. I just think it's probably because my photo is so ugly. It's not a very high bar to get up. So.
Good man. Look, guys. Let's get onto the serious stuff here. I mean, PI obviously making the news a lot, and I think we're all seeing it when we're coming up for renewals now and stuff. So let's start with yourself there, Matt, because you've just been through this process, haven't you? How did it go?
Yeah. So an interesting process, to be honest. So we. A slight bit of background, we run a small financial planning led firm in leafy Bedfordshire. Only do full comprehensive financial planning, have a very belt and buckles, simple investment process. All clients are ongoing, there's no transactional stuff. In theory, about as low risk as you can get in my head. So we've got the DB permissions, we're chartered and certified. We've done 3 DB transfers in our entire history. And we've done 2 analyses in the last 12 months, and both of those were no transfer. So we came to renewal, gave all the information to our current insurer, absolutely everything. We even detailed why we did the 3 that we did, and where they are now, and where they would have been if we hadn't done the transfers. And they came back with a 250% rise in premium, a lack of cover for any DB work ongoing, so we're going to have to vary our permissions, and an increase in excess. So off the back of that, I spoke to a PI broker who basically said, you've done well to get what you've got. The market's impossible. So PI, in my opinion, is is a busted flush. It's essentially there is no options for people out there.
Wow. Okay, Matt. Thank you for being so open and honest with everything that you've gone through there. We do really appreciate that. Russell, I mean, are you seeing a lot of similar situations with 360 members?
Well, PI is naturally a topic of conversation that comes up an awful lot, and more so with any firms that have got DB transfers on its books, and particularly if they've got larger quantities on that side. Fundamentally, with any insurance, I'd always recommend going back to your existing insurer as your first port of call. It has to be. They're the ones that hopefully you can evidence as a firm that over the years you've been a profit centre for them. So whatever they've charged you in a premium, you've not basically cost them in liabilities of claims that have had to go out. And generally speaking, you're seeing that they are the ones that are most likely to provide insurance. That said, there's a huge concern in the PI insurance marketplace in relation to DB and the unknown as to what might happen. People are less concerned, or the insurers are less concerned about the end clients coming back and making complaints, because a lot of those, if you speak to the end clients, they're very happy with what they've got and the conversations they've had with their advisors, but they're concerned as to, may there be a pension review part 2, something of that sort of nature. So it's the bigger scale items that they're concerned about. And we did see Liberty as an insurer were the main insurer that was taking on new business in relation to firms that had DB cover last year, and was typically charging £500 per case that a firm had on top of what your standard premium was. So if, like that situation, say you had a £5,000 standard premium, and then effectively you've done 100 cases, then effectively you're going to have 50 grand as basically your PI cover on top of what your standard was. However, when the FOS limits went up last year, that didn't really have a direct impact on the IFA sector. A lot of the insurers were affected quite heavily in the insurance marketplace due to the liabilities on that front, which made them have more considerations as to what they were going to do with regards to cover. But at the same time, the insurers were getting the same pressures from Lloyd's in relation to their own financial sustainability of their own books. And so there was extra pressures coming from a variety of channels. The FCA then met up with a number of insurers in about June time last year, and that didn't reassure the marketplace, which is where you saw a lot of insurers drop away from the marketplace. That said, the key thing for me is insurance is available, but it depends on the insurer that you are currently with and their own appetite and risk that they have in the marketplace. It also depends on how you are positioned. So your broker makes a big difference, because they are going to have that individual conversation with the insurer, present your case to them. And if that broker isn't talking directly to the insurer, and they may be talking to another broker because they don't have access themselves, you've actually get a chain, and actually your message is diluted. And so how your individual business is presented makes a massive difference, because on the surface, two firms can look identical. And if you're looking just at a proposal form with numbers, that doesn't tell you the mindset, the culture. The culture is a big thing as far as the regulation is concerned, and it absolutely has an impact on a business. It's how that message gets transferred. I could talk for hours on this subject, but so I'll pause there in case you've got other questions.
I do. I have plenty more, so I'm going to come back to you in a moment. But just on something that you said there around presenting yourself. I mean, Matt, when you went back to your PI broker, how did they ask you to present yourself? What sort of stuff did you have to get prepared for that process?
So I put a lot of time into. So first of all, to clarify something I've seen in the chat, we have ever since day dot have dealt directly with Collegiate. So we haven't officially used a broker, I suppose. Incidentally, the broker that I spoke to said there is no market for new DB cover at all. Liberty have pulled out of that. If you can't get cover from your existing broker, you can't get cover. It was essentially what the broker said, unless you are running quite a large firm, and obviously the premium is then profitable enough for them to consider it. But for certainly small to medium-sized firms, it's either your current broker or nothing. sorry, that's for DB business. So what did I do? I put together their form, and I then also detailed exactly kind of the process that we go through, the fact that we use non-contingent planning fees, the fact that we insist on an ongoing advice process, the fact that we don't do DB as a one-off, we do it as part of a comprehensive financial plan. We, as I say, we then each case that we had done, we talked about, you know, here's the client situation, here's the things like the critical yield, here's why we suggested the transfer, here's where they are, here's where they would be if they hadn't done the transfer, etc. So, you know, because we've only got 3 and they were under extenuating circumstances. And we put an awful lot of work into it, and the insurer actually apologised for the terms that they offered, and at the same time said, essentially, the lack of guidance from the FCA and the FOS means that we're just really, really reticent to do anything.
Yeah, well, I guess that's actually the next bit that I want to come back to Russell on. I think Laura's probably going to nod along here when I say this. I think I'm right in saying this, but we are waiting on a report from the FCA, aren't we, which should make things a little bit clearer in terms of FOS and that kind of stuff.
Well, there's the consultation there on CP 1925 on DB, which was due out in Q1 this year. That has been pushed back. To an extent, DB is one of the things that's causing a lot of the conversations at the moment. But I would say, I go back to the positioning piece in relation to yourselves with your insurer. PI is available. It is available if you've got the right connections, and I can name a couple that we've got to basically support 360 clients in relation to help on that side. There is more appetite for cover if a firm has a turnover of more than £1 million, because fundamentally, from an insurer's perspective, they're looking at basically a general percentage of turnover, and then they'll increase that or decrease it depending on what the risk levels that they see. And fundamentally, if you've got a turnover of more than £1 million, then the insurers go, okay, for that percentage, it's worth the risk reward, just like you do with your clients in relation to the risk versus reward with regards to various equities or other asset classes, etc. The insurer's doing the same. The big problem that the insurer's got, like Matt's described, putting a lot of information in front of them, the more time that they have to do their reviews to actually to assess what good looks like, takes away from a cost from their time, takes away from that what they've got to charge in relation to premium and the profits they make. So I'd always suggest with any firms, when you're preparing to put yourself in front of an insurer, it's like selling your business. It's exactly the same sort of thing, just saying, okay, can you, with a maximum of 2 pages, summarize what makes you different? What are basically the risks you've got within your business, and what steps are you taking to minimize those? Because fundamentally, if I'm going to buy your business, what are the things that's going to put me off? What are the things that I'm going to basically go right around? I want a warranty against that thing. If I pay you money for your business, I want a warranty that covers that. The insurer is going to do the same sort of thing. They're going to go, okay, right, you're in DB, or you have done some alternative investments for a client. Why is that? Actually, have you got good rationale behind it? I know Chris put a note on the chat there and saying it's about the process. Absolutely. You have got to be able to document that. But forget the regulator, forget the PI insurers. If you are managing the risk of your business, your client is your biggest risk. Yeah, we can all talk about the regulator, but the regulator doesn't want to shut firms down unless they see really poor practice. That's why they encourage people whistleblowing. And it's great to hear Laura saying about the authorisations team taking longer. Not really. We want more people to be in that team to get that through. But it's great that they are now getting information through FSCS. They never used to get that. That information is coming from FSCS into the Phoenix team in FCA, so they can actually start reducing down the FSCS levy. That's a separate one, but it's using that data saying, well, okay, what are good firms? What are they doing? So I would encourage people to have that like 2-page cover. You assess, you know your firm better than anybody else. What are the risks that you've got, and what steps are you taking? Because cover is available, albeit they're going to risk rate it according to what things you've got in there.
Spot on, Russell, and I couldn't agree more with that, and some of the comments in the chat as well. So Chris Budd's made a really good point there about trying to go and see your insurer. So at the back end of last year, I did exactly that. Went down to Lloyd's of London building, sat in a room with the guy for an hour, chatting through everything pre-Christmas, all that kind of stuff. Took a big pack of stuff in, all of this, and it really did help. Our premiums sort of stayed around about the same-ish level, just a slight increase, which was okay. So as much as you can get in front of insurers, do try and do that. Obviously, a bit difficult at the moment, I would say, but absolutely do sort of try and do that and grab yourself a full compliance report beforehand.
On that point, Ryan, a number of the insurers, they're not the most modern tech savvy entities, still quite paper based, but they are, from the conversations with a number of the insurers, that what they want to do is they do like to see the whites of the eyes of you and try and actually get to what is the focus of your business. So if you're thinking of trying to describe the culture of your business, the insurer wants to know what that is. So how would you react in certain circumstances? If you've got a complaint in, do you throw your hands in the air and go, oh, I want to sack this client, they're awful? Or do you go, okay, right, how do we resolve the issue with that client? And then how do we make sure we don't have anything that anyone else is going to have as an issue? So you learn from the experience. It's that continual learning cycle. And we do find that a number of insurers will have a video conference now, so they can have that chat. And I would encourage that, and that's part of building that relationship.
Good, spot on. And Matt, any advice for anybody out there who's just about coming up to this in terms of budgeting, in terms of luck, in terms of whatever?
I think randomly, when we put together our budget, actually the increase was below our budget, which sounds ridiculous, but it's because we'd heard stories of 400% increases and things like that. So, and to put a little bit of context on it, we have grown as a firm. So actually it's not a 250% increase on the same turnover. There is a bit of that increase is down to increase of turnover. I think for medium-sized and large firms, I think there's absolutely a market out there. I think the small firms are going to really feel it, to be honest. To give yourself the best chance, I think Russell's advice of having down your process, your culture, the things that makes you different, the things that you're doing to manage that risk, and preparing nice and early, and having some examples makes a difference. I mean, I was disappointed with our renewal, but obviously I went direct with the insurer, but the broker that I then spoke to said, actually, you've done okay. You've done okay because you've managed to get, cover for past DB business, things like that. So actually, and I didn't do some of the things that have been suggested. I haven't had a meeting with the insurer. I suspected I was too small to even be kind of considered as a meeting, but from what I've heard today, probably I wasn't. So I think prepare nice and early, prepare evidence, make it as simple and as easy to get through as possible, and just engage with the insurer. That was the thing that I was more than willing to do was engage with them and talk to them about the business model, because transactional DB advice with professional introducers, 3 of those is very different to comprehensive financial planning that includes 3 DB transfers that we look after the clients years afterwards. So with no kind of weird and funky investment pieces in it. So I think, just evidence and make it as simple as possible.
Thank you, Matt. And I know this has been a bit of a heavy subject this morning, so I appreciate you both early doors coming on to talk about this, but it's very, very important. It's something that is going through a lot of people's minds at the moment. Just on a slightly lighter note then for both of you, I'll start with yourself there, Russell. What are you most looking forward to at the end of all of this?
At the end of all of this? Well, I think I've been really impressed with talking to our clients and various people in the industry about the positive way people are open for change, and actually the doing things like this where we're all carrying on having conversations, we can carry on having the meetings, we can share and basically looking out for one another. I'm really looking forward to the fact that that will continue. It's that continued collaboration to looking for abilities to improve things. It's one of the things that NextGen's always been quite good about, like pushing boundaries and doing things differently. And it's that element of going, okay, the number of advisory firms that I've spoken to that are now doing their annual review meetings by way of a video conference with their clients, sharing their screens, doing cash flow modeling on the screen and recording it, that's actually giving them the ability to protect their files to a greater degree, but actually having a much more efficient process, not having to do all the traveling, and being in a situation where the client then gets something at the end of it where they've got a record that they can physically know what the conversations are. Things like that is exciting and new. And so I'm looking forward to people keeping that mindset of growth and change, because there's always abilities to improve. So it's always like looking at these little bits. So yeah, it's great. I'm liking the fact that, you know, people are pulling together and being positive to try and find solutions, because I think we've got some tough times ahead. And ultimately from that side, we've all got to basically support one another on that front.
Very good, Russell. And very quickly, Max, I've run over time.
I'm looking forward to some face-to-face contact with people. As you've said, face-to-face, I'm much better looking than through a screen. So so that's my strength. And just, you know, being able to see parents and friends, family, and have a hug and things like that.
Good man. Spot on. Well, thank you both for joining us today. That's absolutely brilliant. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, let's have a bit of fun as we usually do on the last few minutes of Wednesday. Okay, Ro, are you ready for this?
Yeah, go for it.
We're all going to play corporate bingo. And what we're going to do is we've got numbers 1 to 13. And what we want to know is if you've said this phrase or these words in 2020, we want you to use your reaction to put a thumbs up. I want you to be really honest. You know, I'm expecting full integrity. So Rohan, just tell me a random number between 1 and 13.
7.
Number 7 is "It is what it is." Who has said "It is what it is"?
100%.
Okay, that's fairly light. Next.
3.
Number 3, paradigm shift. What an absolute beauty.
People say that, really.
Matt, have you said paradigm shift or no? No, I think we got away from
I can't get my thumb down.
Number 2.
Number 2, thrown under the bus.
Ooh,
Who said that? Come
I
on.
must have done that.
Definitely
Yeah,
a few people have said that.
Yeah. Number 9 then, Ad.
Number 9, reach out. I want to reach out. Yeah. Who's been sending those cold LinkedIn emails?
Go on then. Final one then. Give us number 11.
11. It's on my radar.
Oh, yeah. I think I said something
Adam
about
Owen,
radar
get your
earlier
thumb up. Come on, get your thumb up.
Wait a minute. So Jennifer's said there that none of these are Scottish phrases. Jennifer, if you could put some Scottish ones into the chat as well, that'd be super.
Yeah,
just while I ask,
we'll have to do a Scottish corporate bingo. But just to give you some of the other ones that, you know, pretty much is based on Adam Owen's, you know, language. Think outside the box is number 6. Helicopter view, that's a good one. Number 5. And number 13 was low hanging fruit. So who said low hanging fruit in the past 3 or 4 months?
I think I might have done. Shocking. Shocking.
Yeah, a bit of fun.
Right.
Just on the PI road, just because I didn't get a chance to say, would it be useful if we got some guys to put together a guide, you know, some sort of guide to things that we want to think about when firms are applying, and maybe start to think about a bit of a panel, you know, in terms of, you know, brokers or insurers that people recommend, and put that in the group? I think that would be fair. We'd find that fairly useful. Would other people find that fairly useful?
Well, we'll just do what we always do, Adam. If you and I find it useful because we're financial planners that own firms, then we'll just do it anyway, won't we? And share it with everyone else. So there you go. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah,
so
we'll do that.
What have we got tomorrow, Rohan Floyd?
What do we have tomorrow? Tomorrow, we have an interview with Catherine Knowles of Cure Insurance. If you don't know Catherine, she's absolutely superb. So she helps the uninsurable get insured. And we also have, God, after the heaviness of PI today, we have a cookery segment tomorrow. I may or may not have hired help. I will not confirm or deny that. But yes, we will see how that goes tomorrow morning. Prawn linguine at 8:30.
Right, perfect. Thanks, guys.
Nice one.
Thanks for coming into Morning Commute. See you later.